All right, guys, welcome to Family First Life Southeast. Today we got Hannah Hastings and Kyle Hastings. Kyle Hastings is one of our top producers. He's going to issue pay over 300,000. We got his lovely wife on here today. We're going to talk a little bit about how to bring your spouse into this, how to figure out, how to put a schedule together, how to work together. Because one of the hardest things I think at the beginning, especially for me, was having two kids. I didn't have them. My wife had them, having a third one on the way, and then trying to figure out, how to be everything, how to build a business, how to be able to be a husband, how to be able to be a good father. And it's really important. I think Kyle and Hannah do a lot of things, and what they did at the beginning, and I want them to kind of share some of the things that they've gone through to help you guys out, because there's a lot of new agents on here that are, either struggling or trying to figure out what they need to do, some of the discussions they need to do with their spouses, significant others, whatever it is, or just somebody that, you share a life with. So with that being said, Kyle, help me introduce your lovely wife, kind of talk about what you did at the beginning and kind of set the precedent for your wife knowing what you're going to be doing in insurance.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first off, thanks for having us on this call. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Mike, for having us on. It's an honor to be on. So this is my wife, Hannah. We've been married 10 years this year. She's actually blind. She doesn't know what I look like. Thank God. No, just joking. But we've been married 10 years this year. We just started with FFL 2 years ago. So right at 2 years, we have two kids, a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. And, one thing that helped us from the very beginning was we had a conversation, me and Ryan, when I first met you. And one of the things that you suggested was, hey, before we jump into this, make sure to get your wife on board. And so I think that's probably that's the most important thing I did from the beginning. I think it's very difficult, if not impossible, that if you're a married person coming into this business from doing something else previously, especially if that previous job was just like a normal 9 to 5, I think it's very difficult, if not impossible, to succeed in this if your wife isn't on board, your wife, husband, significant other is not on board. And so that's what we did from the beginning. It was a decision we made together, that we're going to go all in on this, and it's going to take sacrifice from both of us, and so that's kind of what we did in the beginning. I'm super thankful that you suggested that from the jump.
So Hannah, do me a big favor, kind of explain to some of the wives or significant others out there of basically how that conversation went and what you heard.
Yeah, he came home after talking to you and just kind of said, we've got this amazing opportunity. It has the potential to be incredibly lucrative, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard on both of us. He's like, I'm going to miss a lot. A lot of things are going to fall on you. But if we just kind of power through this for about 5 years, our life can look a lot different. And so, we just kind of came up with that mindset kind of together of, okay, we do have an end goal for this. This is not forever. And it is hard, but, we both keep our eyes on that end goal of, this is what we're trying to accomplish. So, but yeah, it was all in the way that I think he presented it to me, that, my expectation from the beginning was this is not easy. And so I just kind of expect that every day, and I'm never disappointed. So good.
I know you're not disappointed, because I've seen some of the things that you guys are able to do, and some of the things that it's starting growing at the first when you're talking about being hard. So a little bit about that, Kyle. Kind of go over the schedule at the beginning, and then because you told her it was going to be hard, so she definitely didn't think this was going to be easy. She definitely didn't have the preconceived notion that you were going to be rich day one, but she did know that you were going to have to travel, correct? So talk a little bit about the schedule and then some of the things that you guys had to endure and had to go through at the beginning schedule wise that that helped you propel you to get into that 20,000, 25, and then to a $30,000 a month producer and beyond.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from the beginning, you know, I mean, I was a musician before I did this. Like, I mean, she knew that. She knew I knew nothing about insurance. I never sold anything, you know, and so she knew that it was going to be hard. I mean, this was a brand new, you know, skill, a brand new muscle that I was going to have to figure out how to work. And so from the beginning, you know, it was hey, this is going to be sacrificed with the schedule, but also, yes, a lot of it's going to fall on you, you know, getting kids to bed, getting them to school, laundry. Like, are you okay with that? Like, if I step away from that, not just because I don't want to do it, but because I'm out here trying to build a business for us and for our kids and their kids. So are you okay with that? And she was. And I mean, from day one. So when I first started this 2 years ago, I drove a 2003 Ford Escape with peeled off paint. The back window was taped on because the part to keep it on was like $200. And I was like, I'm not spending that. So from day one, and she drove what was it, like a 2012 Ford Fusion that was purple, but that was the only vehicle that we could rely on. So from day one, it was gonna be like, all right, so if you're in, like, I got to check out on the chores and stuff. Also, you get the 03 Escape because I'm gonna be on the road. And so, and she was in for that, you know. And I remember, you know, one of my first days in the field, I left at like 5 a.m. My first appointment was 6 hours away. This was the day that I figured out how to be efficient in booking appointments. I had 4 appointments. My first one was 6 hours away at 11 a.m. My last one was at 8 p.m. and it was 4.5 hours away from the house. And they were all in different cities. Went over 4. It was a mess. But that was going to be the schedule. You know, it was, hey, Mondays I'm going to be in the office and I'm going to dial. I'll get there 7:30 in the morning. I'm going to start dialing. And there was no, hey, Mondays, what time are you going to be home? I was like, well, I mean, when I'm done dialing, you know? And then, so yeah, that was always different. There was never a set time to be home. Then Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm in the field. And, you know, well, when there was never a, hey, well, when are you going to be home? It's like, well, whenever people won't meet with me to help them with insurance, you know? And then we turn around and did that again Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So that's what we agreed to in the beginning. You know, there's other things that I enjoy. I mean, Ryan, you know, my wife knows I love to play golf, but in the beginning, I took Sundays, you know, off as a family day, so I could be around her and Ace at the time. So in the beginning, I gave up golf. I mean, like, you know, Sundays I wasn't going to disappear for 6 hours to go play golf, and that was the only day I had to be around the family. So that's kind of the schedule that we bought into from the get-go. You know, we talked a lot in Ryan, when you train on schedule, right? You talk a lot about these non-negotiable days. So, you know, sit down at the beginning of the month, come up with you know, 2-3 non-negotiable days, okay, that you guys pick out as a family. Those are off days. But we didn't do that from the beginning. And the reason is, you know, I knew nothing about insurance. I had to figure this out. You know, they were counting on me. There were people counting on me to figure this thing out. And so that was our schedule, Monday through Saturday, every week. There weren't any non-negotiable days. Now we worked those in now after, you know, a couple of years. But from the beginning, it was all in on both of our parts, you know?
Yeah, I mean, some of the key words that I'm hearing in there, it sounds like, I mean, your job was to go to work, and then it was Hannah's job to sacrifice. So kind of tell me some of the sacrifices you had to give up also in order for him to go to work, and then, you know, some of the mindset that you were in, knowing that, I mean, you're taking, because both of you are taking a big leap of faith. He's taken a big leap of faith as far as going from what he knows and what he's comfortable in, as far as, you know, being a musician, playing in a band, playing at bars and restaurants. And he's going into a total different direction. He's going straight into life insurance, which is scary. I mean, I'm sure this is some of the scary things, scary for you, scary for both of you, but probably scary mostly for you because all you have to do is sit back and wait. And it almost seems like you're making a lot of the sacrifices at the beginning, to make sure that he's successful. Talk talk to some of the women out there, some of the spouses, and some of the significant others out there about some of the sacrifices and how hard it was, and what are the sacrifices that you made at the beginning, please.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really, really hard in the beginning. I had just had a baby. I found out I was pregnant like the month he started. And so we knew we had that coming. And, he had not even completed that first year when I had our second baby. And so, I have all these emotions. I have all these feelings that I'm trying to work through while he's trying to build a business. And it was hard because I would cry to my mom, cry to my sister and say, this is so hard. Like, Ace had baseball and I'm trying to figure out how to load up 2 kids in the car by myself and have all the things I need, plus Ace's baseball equipment, plus be there on time, plus get myself, moms know it's hard. And so I remember the first day I made it somewhere on time with both kids ready. It felt like I had conquered the world. And it was learning that how am I going to navigate this on my own? But then I also had, I would cry to the people I'm closest to, because I didn't see that it would be wise for me to complain to Kyle about it, because I knew that we had talked about it already. We had that initial conversation of what our end goal was going to be. And so for me to complain to him that what I was doing was hard when I knew what he was doing was hard also, it just looked different. So, I had my people, but what I had to be discerning about was, for my mom and my sister and some friends to look in on our situation and see what we were doing, which was Kyle's gone all the time and you're doing everything 100%. And that's what the outsider sees. And they would tell me, this is wrong. What you're doing is wrong. You need to talk to Kyle and you need to tell him that he needs to be home more and he needs to change things. And I had to take it with a grain of salt because I knew that they had my interests at heart, but at the same time, Kyle and I had a goal. And I know he had my interests at heart too. I don't mean that, but I just had to keep my eyes focused and just realize how hard it was for all of us. My family and my friends don't see that and say that anymore because they see it. They see the difference. That's right. And so, and it was really hard. It was hard. I just had to use wisdom and discernment as far as what I took in from who and what I said. And that was hard too.
So really kind of looking at it, so you, just by talking to you, the hardest thing wasn't kind of almost being a single parent a little bit. The hardest thing was the negativity you got from others. And you're talking about how you discerned and how you dispelled that negativity. I think it's 2 ways, and I'm going to let Kyle come in here in a second. But if Kyle did not have that conversation with you and you guys together didn't build goals and didn't have that discussion earlier, how much easier would it have been for that negativity to come in? And how easy is it to dispel that negativity because you guys did build a plan together? You did know how it was going to go. He didn't lie to you and tell you he was going to be a millionaire within a year. He didn't tell you he was going to be rich. He didn't tell you he was going to be famous. But he told you some of the real hard goals. And together y'all built. But kind of like, and so you talked a little bit about your sister and some of your family and friends, how they were kind of wanting to tell you it's not right, shouldn't do it. But you dispelled that negativity because Kyle and you built that plan together at the beginning, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then I think there's another thing too, and another big part of this, because I know just from talking to Kyle and stuff, talk about the negativity from you too, Kyle. Like when you had bad days or when you were not very good at it at the beginning, you didn't come home. Like you talked about it a little bit, Hannah. You talked about how you didn't complain to him. You knew it was already going to be hard. He told you it was going to be hard. So the negativity, you shelved the family and friends, from him hearing the negativity. But Kyle, kind of tell me about how your days went when you didn't have good days, when you're still trying to figure it out. What did you come home to your wife and say and talk about? And how'd you dispel that negativity and set her mind at ease too, that everything's going to be all right?
Yeah. It was actually very similar. So, I may have a rough day in the field, or she may have a rough day at home. Maybe the kids are going nuts all day. And it was almost when we came back at night, whenever I got home, which is late, it was, how'd your day go? It went great. And that was about it. Now, and we did tweak some things in the very beginning. I remember this was maybe my second week. So I wrote a policy. It was like a $70 policy. And I mean, I wasn't even out of the driveway. And I'd called her. I was like, you're not going to believe this. I was just with this guy for 45 minutes and I just made like $600. And she was like US dollars? Are you serious? I'm like, yes, US dollars. And so then I talked to her about, 3 hours later, she called me. And I think everyone else that day no-showed me. And that guy also canceled his policy the next day. But she called me later on that day and she was like, how many more of those $600 sales you got? I'm like, well, not a single one. So we cut that out immediately because that wasn't important. So we knew as long as I go to work, the number's always going to work out. So, but literally, if I had a bad day in the field, I mean, I could have gone 0 for 8. When I get home at 11 o'clock at night, man, I had a great day. How was your day? And even if it was a horrible day for her, it was great, you know? So that was big. And then another thing is, we just recently I found out how much her family and some of those people were in her ear a year and a half ago. Like, man, you got to tell him to work less. Like, you got to tell him to stop working nights. Like, I had no idea. I kind of knew that, they would mention little comments, but I didn't know really how bad it was because she shielded me from that. And so just like I would shield her from a day where I went 0 for 8 and made no money and was going all day, she shielded me from that. So it went both ways. It still does.
Yeah, and that's some of the things, and that's some of the hardest things I think at the beginning, because misery loves company. I mean, there's a saying, and it's an old saying, a cliche saying, but I mean, when you're miserable and you're down, I mean, Kyle, it's very easy for you to come, because I mean, you and your wife are very close, and you guys discuss a lot of things. It's real easy to commiserate together, to come home and throw that negativity at her so she could feel sorry for you, and then figure out ways like, oh yeah, that's right, honey, that this sucks, this job sucks, stop doing it. And it's the same thing. She could commiserate with her family and friends and do the same thing with you and then harp on you. But neither one of that negativity doesn't help you with any of your end goals. And that's one of the biggest things I think you guys at the beginning knew it was going to be sacrifice and knew how to shield some of the negativity away from each other. But talk about some of the positive. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, so one other thing I will throw in the beginning that was huge was that we separated bank accounts, business and personal bank accounts. And, I remember Mike telling me, it was like, what's the biggest thing you could do in the beginning? He was like, oh, that's real easy. Separate your bank accounts. I'm like, what? So we did that, but that was huge for us because, there were days where a lot came in. There were days where nothing came in. There were days when a lot went out and nothing came in, So if she was looking at that all day, that wouldn't have been helpful for nobody. And so what we said from the beginning was, you know, part of that initial conversation was, hey, like she had to trust me that this is what I was going to do. And I think, you know, leaving at 5 a.m, getting home at midnight, whatever, that built trust in the beginning, because she's like, all right, this guy's going to work. You know what I mean? And so that was another huge thing, is separating the bank accounts, treating this like this is a true business.
Yep.
So I just want to throw that in there real quick before we move on.
And I think that's huge. That's a great tip that Mike gave me that tip also. And I made sure, because this is the thing, is it just keeps everybody off of that roller coaster, that up and down, you know, that, you know, what are they seeing? What are they not seeing? What's happening? But this is the thing, is it's a business, because there's going to be ebbs and flows in a business. You got to know that going in. But this is the thing, is also, I know for a fact, you guys, like we talked about it 2 years ago. What was it? It was the Yukon XL 2020, right?
Yeah, you talked about it way more than anybody else.
Well, I knew you needed a little bit of push, because we were going to make more, not just make more money than you've ever seen, but make more money than, you know, you wanted to make. You wanted goals up here. I wanted to make sure that you achieved those goals and hit it. And I knew she was going to be your driving force. And I mean, she goes from, what'd you say, a Ford Escape? I mean, I remember that purple car you drove. That was horrible. It was purple. You said that
it was purple.
It was purple.
It was.
With the paint fading, it looked like somebody just poured gasoline on it. I mean, I was fixing to set it on fire, but I mean, she goes from, you know, that car, a little Ford Escape. I mean, you put her in another little red car, and I looked at it and he goes, "Oh, I got me an SUV." You pulled in. I was like, "Oh, that's definitely not an SUV." I said, "Honey, we were definitely going to get a Yukon 2020. And what did he buy you today? He bought you a brand new car, didn't he?
Yes.
What did he get you?
We just got a Honda Pilot.
Yes, you've been wanting a Pilot. I even saw it, and it was nice. But I mean, some of the things, talk about some of the positive things. Talk about some of the things that this business, Family First Life, how it's changed your life. Because, I mean, you put up with the sacrifices. And, I mean, the sacrificing was really only for, you know, the first couple of years, correct? I mean, you guys are going into your third year of business here at Family First Life. I mean, Kyle's going to be growing a business now. His agency is going to be doing, you know, close to 300,000 in issue paid volume. Name some of the positives, like probably in the last 6 months, some of the things that have changed for both of you. Some of the things that now you're starting to, you know, if you sow the right seeds, you're going to reap, you know, you're going to reap the rewards. You're going to get the benefits. Name some of the fun things that you guys are doing now. Because, I mean, it's great to hear the sacrifices and some of the things that you had to stay, the negativity you had to put to the side. But name some of the fun things that you guys are getting to do now, and how he's working and how he's still working the same hard, but it's just getting easier.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Ladies first.
Yeah, please.
I mean, you know, it all has been like little like nuggets kind of along the way, you know, like it didn't, for really just until this year, we really didn't start doing a lot of fun things because we were so focused on that business aspect of it and getting that started. And so, I mean, I think it was like over a year before we like even paid some debt off. Like I had my student loans, we paid that off. So that was like the first like big check off the list. Which that's not fun. That is zero fun, but it was something off our plate, you know? Then we got one new car. Now we've gotten 2 new cars. Now we just redid our kitchen.
Oh,
this was just finished. I love it. I love it. Anyway, we got new carpet. We, you know, we take trips. We, even still, it's not drastic. It's not like we're, we just don't have the weight of, well, how much is that going to cost? And, but we're just doing kind of a little bit each time. And the crazy thing I was thinking about the other day is, you know, I have a Pinterest, and, you know, we always, me and my friends will post these dream houses, you know, that are like, it's never going to happen. it's just a dream house, you know, like you share it, you're like, this is amazing. How cool would that be? And the crazy thing is that's not a dream house anymore. That's a reality. It's probably a reality, hopefully in the couple years. But
2021, by the way.
that's what I'm pushing for. I like that plan.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. It's crazy to, and you know, I never thought that this would be our life, but I'm grateful for it. Like I get to stay home with my kids. I get to take them to the park. I get to take Ace to school and pick him up every day. I consider that like a fun thing, a great thing that I always wanted to do, but never thought I would be able to. And I don't know, Bud, what do you?
Yeah, I mean, so probably the first thing was, you know, our family's back in Kentucky. Before this, whenever we went to visit, we would cram into that purple car with all our crap. We would drive 12 hours, stopping every 90 minutes because somebody had to pee. And then, you know, we would stay in 3 different houses while we were there, you know, between your parents, my parents, you know, living out of suitcases. And then last Christmas, you know, for the first time, we actually, you know, we flew home, like we stayed at a hotel, you know, and we, you know, we just got to enjoy a Christmas at home, you know, for the first time, really. So that was probably the big first thing we did, and we're definitely nowhere close. I mean, you know, we talk about 5 years, like we're only 2 years into it, so we're definitely nowhere close to slowing down, like, or where we want to be, you know. So that was probably the big thing, and then just seeing other agents that I get to work with, get to do things with their family. That's pretty cool too, you know.
Well, and this is the thing is what you're starting to see too is people in your inner circle, your family, your friends are going to start noticing these things. They're going to start noticing that you were able to refinish your house, you know, remodel a little bit. They're going to start seeing you drive nicer cars. They're going to start seeing you when you do go home, instead of cramming into a 1-bedroom, you know, at your mother and father's house, that you're staying at the Omni. I think that's where you stayed, right? They're going to start noticing those types of things because you're able to afford it. Mike Killamat's always said, and I remember this, you either got, you know, you got time or money, but time plus money equals happiness. You know, if you got all the time in the world, but you have no money, you could sit at home and you can't do anything. You just sit staring at the television or doing nothing. That's no fun. Or if you have all the money in the world, you know, but you don't have any time to take care, you know, do the things with your family, take care, you know, and see things grow, see your family, do the fun things. It doesn't matter either. So if you got time plus money, I think it definitely equals happiness. And talking to the both of you guys, I think you guys balance that extremely well. I think you guys have definitely taken the negativity out of the beginning, the sacrifice, knowing that you're going to have to sacrifice in order for this to be successful. I think your communication, I think it's huge. I think this is probably why, Kyle, I think that you are really good in the home. I think you communicate with people well. I think you communicated with Hannah, and you gave her some of the expectations up front to where she didn't feel like she was alone on that island. So she could take that negativity, hear it, and still dispel it and not have to come to you on it. Just real quick, because we're going to end this. Just tell me one thing, each of you, that you wish other agents, because I'm super proud of you guys, and it's really exciting to see you guys grow and be able to do the things. Like, I mean, now, I mean, we can do things like we've gotten to a country club together, Kyle, and doing some things together. I think it's really fun. Just give me one thing that you guys would want other agents to emulate that you guys did at the beginning, and we'll go from there. I'll let Hannah go first on this.
I think a huge part of what Kyle did is we kind of touched on this earlier, but you know, he was always positive. And you know, I told him he's got good moods and he's got great moods. You know, even if he had a bad day, I never saw it. And his attitude about everything made it easy for me to to be grateful, to be excited, to be like, all right, cool, well, go to work tomorrow, see ya. You know, and so I think part of it is like your attitude when you come home, you know, that's gonna, what is that quote? Attitude reflects leadership, Captain.
Mhm.
Remember that? So we talk about that all the time, you know, and his attitude is, I reflect that. And I think, you know, the other part is just kind of surround yourself with people that get it. I think it's, you know, if you're listening to all these 9-to-5 people, they're gonna tell you things that don't make sense with them. They don't add up, and you've got to kind of find those people that will tell you this is hard. It's not a 9-to-5 job. There is technically no off time. I mean, there is, but you know, if his phone rings, he's going to answer it, and I'm completely fine with that. And so, yeah, I think it's just so much of it is mindset and wisdom, really.
Yeah, I would say just the one thing that I would leave everyone with is when it comes to communicating with your spouse, I think you know, how you communicate and what you communicate is important, but it's also important how much you communicate. And what I mean by that is, what really do they need to know? And I don't want that to come across like keeping that I keep things from her, but it's really not a big deal. Like, she doesn't need to know that somebody no-showed me. She also, you know, at the same time doesn't necessarily need to know about some awesome client that I had, you know, because what that does is it does this, right? And so communication with your significant other is so important, but I think there's also things that I would ask yourself before you communicate: is this really essential? Like, do I need to communicate this? Right? So she doesn't know when people no show me. She doesn't know when I write a $5,000 policy either. You know, so that's kind of what I want to leave people with. I know it's extremely important, and it's been huge for us.
That's awesome. I appreciate both of you guys. I think you guys are great people. I think you guys are going to be doing some big things. Big things coming 2021. You're going to get your dream home. I know that for a fact. I'm going to help you set them goals and keep achieving them, Kyle. You better go back to work. I don't know if that country club you're allowed to go back to that much. But I appreciate both of you guys. Big things are coming. I think 2020 is going to be a year, and 2021 is going to be even a bigger year for you guys. I appreciate what y'all do. Thank you very much. Bye.
Yeah.